So we decided not to change the program. This is a very important topic that we, time to time, we need to come back and revisit and bring the introduction of this topic of mediumship. It's very funny because this is a topic that sells the most, isn't it? When you watch movies, what kind of movies bring more revenue for the big industry? The one that has those subject that is related to the spiritual influence. But sometimes, you know, the influence that they portray over there is not the one that we would like to discuss here. So to talk about mediumship, and as you see by the topic, is 101, which means that it's something basic. We are not here, we don't pretend to take this time because we don't have enough time. This is a subject that is going to require many years for one to go deep and understand the mechanism of mediumship. So first, let's start from the beginning. So the first question that comes to our mind, what is mediumship? So our idea here is bring mediumship under the Spiritist view. Because you can go anywhere over there and buy any book that discusses this subject, and they might teach you a different approach. But the approach that, I'm going to wait for our friend over there too. So the approach that we're going to take tonight is bring what Spiritism has framed this topic to help us to understand this faculty that we call mediumship. So the first question is what it is. I mean, of course, if we're going to do a survey and ask what is mediumship is, people is going to basically going to say, oh, it's people that has the ability to talk to the spirit. Okay? It's not wrong, it's right. But the question is how this interchange happen between the physical and the spiritual. So, of course, for anything in life, there is mechanism, isn't it? Our body is working right now, but they follow a law that needs to be precisely. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to walk or to think or to, you know, when the machine is broke, so we get sick. The same thing is for a car, for example. Any other device that works well needs to be well tuned, well prepared, well put together. So in this book, this is not the medium's book, we're going to get there. This book called Mediumship, All You Need to Know. That was a book that's wrote by Richard Simonet. He is already in the spiritual plane. It's a very easy book, small, few pages, but give like straight to the point answers to someone that wanted to start from the beginning, okay? He says in this book that in its simplest definition, mediumship is being sensitive to the influence of the spirit realm. It is the sixth sense, which places us in contact with the world of the spirits. In much the same way as our sense of touch, taste, smell, seeing, and hearing place us in the contact with the world of humans. So this is a very simple definition of what mediumship could be. So, but before we go deep on this topic, not deep because this is 101, cannot be deep. So let us go back a little bit and understand in Spiritism, how Spiritism approached this subject. Because mediumship was not created by Spiritism. It's a faculty that exists, has been taught since beginning of human history, you know. So if we go back, 5,000 years ago, we're going to learn about the ancient Egyptians, Greek. So they all took advantage of this faculty. But when the Spiritism was published, or was brought, through the book, the Spiritist book, that was published in 1857 by the research Professor Allan Kardec. So the first book that was brought was a book that we call the Spiritist book, not Kardec's books, because it was a book that was a product of an investigation where there is this phenomenon that was happening. It started here in New York, upstate New York, with the Fox sisters, and then spread to not the US, but also to Europe. And Professor Kardec was the first one in that time that looked the phenomena and decided to seriously investigate. So when we talk about Spiritism, we talk about investigation, research, unshakable reason, So it's not something that, okay, this guy just sit down over there and publish a book. There is a rationale behind of this. So how do you know this? Just read the books, and you're going to see that makes a lot of sense. So this was the first book that was launched in 1857. The book has 1,019 questions. We are studying this book here every Thursday, so you can join us and learn about. The book is basic questions and answers, okay? And the book was put together in a way that one book has 4 parts that we call 4 books inside of one book. So the first part talks about the first cause. And the first cause is later developed in the Genesis, that is this book here, the last book. So the second part of this book talks about the spiritual world or the world of spirit. The second book was the Medium's book, okay? The third book talk about the moral laws and was further developed in the Gospel according to Spiritism. And finally, the part 4 of this book was further developed in the 4th book that we call Heaven and Hell. That's this book, and talk about hope and consolations. So we're going to discuss this book here. We're going to not discuss, we're going to approach mediumship through the second book. Why Kardec decided to launch the Medium's book? Because when he launched the first book, that was the Spirit's book, people was asking, okay, so how do we get in contact with the spiritual plane in a safe way? Or not in a safe way, but people was doing in a way that was not so safe. They are attracting spirit that was not so elevated. So then he put the Medium's book. So in Spiritism, when we talk about mediumship, this is the Bible, okay? So there is no other, we mentioned about this, but this book was wrote like in a more like easy way from this book here. So people, scholars in Spiritism, what they do, they go to this book and they decide to pick one part of the book and develop in a very simple language so people can understand better. Or bring examples that, study case that helps. So given this introduction, if you come to a spirit center, if you wanted to exercise your mediumship under Spiritism, so we need to go through this. This is called the Spiritist codification. So what this book, the Medium's book, entail, okay? Of course, all you need to know if you want to really to sit and make this connection with the spirit world and talk to spirit. But is mediumship only to talk to spirit or receive message from the spirit? So what is the role of the mediums? How the medium needs to prepare themselves? So how we should put a mediumnistic meeting? What's the component for a safe mediumnistic meeting? So let us make a disclaimer that this topic was not created by Spiritism. Mediumship, there is a lot of other philosophy or religion, African religions, that take mediumship and exercise in their own way. We are not here to judge if they are doing is right or wrong, but we are here to follow what, in the framework, what the Spirit's book brings to us. So we're not going to go deep in the book because this book is more than 30 chapters, but we're going to bring some elements for us to understand the basic of mediumship. So this book, the Medium's book, is the safety manual for all those who dedicate themselves to activities involving communication with the spiritual world. So it is indispensable for someone that wanted to learn about mediumship not to go and study. It's not only read, but study the book, okay? So as we mentioned at the beginning, this is not something that was created in Spiritism. When we talk about mediumship, we can go way back in the ancient civilization, and we're going to see a lot of phenomena that, the priest and the people that was involved in that time communicate with other entities and brings information from the other side. So as we can see here, the Egyptians, back the time of Jesus, here during the Herman Fox phenomenon that happened in the 1800s. So, and nowadays, we go to Barnes & Noble, we Google, there is tons of books that talk about this subject. So, in the Medium's book, in the part 2, item 159, so Kardec mentioned that we are all mediums. We are all mediums. And here's what the text says. Every individual who senses the influence of spirit to any degree of intensity is a medium. This faculty is inherent to humankind. It therefore does not constitute exclusive privilege. So, they say anyone that senses the influence of spirit to any degree of intensity is a medium. But one thing that I wanted to highlight in this definition, this text about we as a medium, is that this is not a privilege. That's not anyone. You could be, someone that was born with high education, but someone that doesn't have high education. So doesn't have a particular prerequisite for someone to come with this faculty, okay? So when we talk about medium, this individual, so in mediumship, we are talking about the intermediary, the medium between two planes. So the physical one, and the one that is extra physical, that is not physical, that we don't see it, means we, the majority of the people, because some people can see spirit, okay? And we're going to discuss this a little bit further. So, by this definition that we are all mediums, this influence from the spirit in the material world can happen in different with different characteristics, different aspects. So, and we can see here, for example, Tchaikovsky, was this Russian composer that was very influent in the classic music, that he received a lot of composition. He composed a lot of pieces of music that definitely we can tell that he also has this influence as well. It's not to say that he was not capable, but his ability was enhanced by spiritual influence. And how do we know this? We can read the Spiritist magazine, where we see all the behind the scene of a lot of those great people in humanity that was influenced by spirit, high spirituality, to bring beautiful thing to our society. Well, by saying this, we need also to acknowledge that if we are influenced by high spirits, we also can be influenced by lower spirit. When we say lower, we talk about a spirit that has no desire to see us getting better as a human, as individual, but also as the society. Let's forget the spiritual world. Let's think about our society. Okay? So we see that there is a lot of individuals that we don't want to befriend. But there is some individuals that we wanted to befriend because we judge that those individuals maybe we bring good influence to our lives. So the same thing is this influence from the other side. We have spirit that can influence us for good stuff, good things, but also we have spirits that wanted to influence us to do harm or not to grow, you know. So we need to be tuning on this influence and how can we identify this influence in our daily life. That's the most important. So what happened now in our planet, in our society, in our family, without we know, we may have those influence playing a role and we are just like, wow, why this thing happened to me? Why things happen? So we're going to see by the end of this talk how we can mitigate those influence. So we can see all the celebrities like Anna Eleanor Roosevelt, that was the wife of the president, Roosevelt, yes. The great scientist, the French scientist, Louis Pasteur, that was the one that proved that there is microorganisms living among us. And the great inventor and businessman, Thomas Edison, that was one of the great inventors here in America that brought a lot of inventions. One of them was this thing that the light, and a lot of other devices that nowadays we have computers, we have machine, we have car, thanks to this guy. And guess what? He was born in 1847 and he died in 1931 with 84 years old. Guess what? It was the same time range that Spiritist idea was brought also in France. He was 10 years old when this book was published. So if we look history, we see that is not by chance. There is a high organized plan from the high spirituality to boost, to develop our society. That last century was the development of our society when we talk about advancement in technology, in the industrialization. But now, in this century, we need to develop other faculty, other things in our society. So, and probably improve our moral conduct and our spirituality. So in this sense, we could say that all are mediums, since they are mediums, since there are none who do not have their protector and familiar spirit, who do everything they can to transmit good thought to their awards. So how we justify that we are all mediums? By this sentence. So if we believe in guardian angels and God assign a spirit guide to each one of us, so it's because at some point in our life we have the influence of this guardian angel. We should have the influence of the guardian angel more than ever to help us to not fail in this lifetime. So only by this definition we can say for sure that we are all mediums. Because what would be the advantage to have a guardian angel if we cannot, have the inspiration or at least like have this contact? The question here is, this can be done in a conscious way or unconsciously, you know. So, but doesn't mean that does not exist, doesn't mean that we don't have the ability to feel the influence of a spirit or a guardian angel, a spirit guide. So we can give whatever name we want to this influence. So now we approach for something more tangible, that is the type of mediums. We have, if we are all mediums, so why I cannot see spirit? You might ask, Daniel, how can I, develop or educate this faculty that we call mediumship, or so I can talk to my mother that discarnate, or my son that I lost last year. So one of the things that we need to bring in this topic of one-on-one is that we said that mediumship is not a privilege. But mediumship can be used for a very good purpose if you have this ability. And the purpose here is charity, is consolation. And the end of this presentation, we're going to see about 8 minutes of part of a movie that was made in Brazil with this medium, Chico Xavier, how much consolation and charity he did. And this movie is based on true story. So when we talk about ostensible and not ostensible, then what this means? Not ostensible means that we are not feeling or seeing or hearing the spirit. Ostensible is those people that really, if they are here, they can see what kind of spirits are here with us. Or they can feel, or they can hear. And a lot of people is in the psychiatric hospital saying this as well, and they might not be really, mentally sick. Is that our medicine is not equipped yet to differentiate, and because people that has no ability or no education, no control of this influence, they really can display a mental health condition, because there is no difference. Because if someone come in here and say, hey, I'm seeing someone sitting here or doing this thing, immediately we're going to label this person as schizophrenic, because it's the same kind of symptom that someone that has this problem has. So how can we differentiate that? Okay? So that's why it's very important we observe, and as we mentioned at the beginning, Spiritism is based on research, observation. We can't go out there and say, hey, this is this or this is that. No, we need to observe. We need to put in perspective if the person has a mental disease or if the person really has ostensible mediumship. This brings a great responsibility for us, because not every person that has mental disease is a medium. Okay? Not every person that has a mental disease is a medium. But if the person has a mental imbalance in their central nervous system, doesn't mean that this imbalance will not be potentiated by spirit. That is the trick. So even if the person is not a medium or sensitive medium, depending on the life of the person and the past life of the person, they might have some influence of lower entity that wanted to push that person to the abyss. And that's why when someone comes to a spirit center and the person has displayed a symptom or a diagnosis that we see clearly that the person has a mental problem that is not caused by the spirit, and even if it is caused by the spirit, we will always suggest the person to seek a professional, in the case a medical doctor or a specialist, to also help to treat. In the same time, we can offer the spiritual treatment. We can offer the spiritist therapy as a alternative therapy for that situation. Why we do that? Because we are not only the physical body. We are this three-dimensional being. Three-dimension to make easy. We are in a we are spirit, that has a spiritual body that is live in a physical body. So right now, I'm not spirit, but I'm not the physical body, but I'm not the spiritual body. I'm the three of them in one. So anything that happened to me or to one of us here incarnate, we need to tackle this in a three different way. First, we need to treat the physical body. We need to treat the symptom. We can't tell someone that has a obsession or a mental problem to go and just come here to the center and receive the passing. You need also to say, look, you need to go and treat the symptom. Why? Because the machinery that is our brain, our central nervous system, is not working properly. So we need some kind of medication to align the neurotransmitter so the spirit that now is disturbed can also use this machine to display a better behavior. So it's a little bit more deep, this subject, but it's just for you to understand when we talk about ostensible and not ostensible medium. Okay? You can judge yourself. You can, if you feel influence of the spirit and you don't know if it is you or the spirit, you can talk to us after here. So we can kind of like help you to understand. Nobody here is going to say, yeah, you are medium. Because the book already said, we are all medium. The question is, what intensity of, which level of this medium feeling that you have, ostensibility that you have, you are. Maybe you could be very ostensible, maybe you just like not so ostensible in this case. What we can see here in this picture, here in this side we see the great Spiritist Brazilian medium, Chico Xavier. This man, he lived 92 years old. He died in 2002, and he was able to psychograph more than 450 books. They say that right now they left a lot of text that was psychographed that is about almost 500 books. So make the math, do the math of 92-year-old. He started psychograph. His first book he launched when he was, I think, 17. You know, his first book he was 17. He died with 92. So when you make the math, and then you divide how many years he lives by the number of books that was published. It was almost like one book every 2 or 3 months that he was launched. So when you read, so when you look at here in this, you're going to see that you're going to have a lot of his book. There is a series that we call Life in the Spiritual World that is by the Spirit André Luiz. When you read that book, there is books that is touched a lot of about, for example, evolution in 2 words, that talk about the evolution of the spiritual principle until the angelic level, but also how our planet was formed. Evolution in 2 words, like in the spirit and the material. If you did biology, if you went to college, you're going to grasp a little bit of this book because they touch a lot about scientific things, but also they bring knowledge that you're not going to learn in university because it's more in the spiritual arena. So now, let's narrow and understand the role of a medium. So when you talk about medium, we have 2 main different kinds of medium. We have mediums that, and this we can read more in the Medium's book, part 2, chapter 14 and 15, talks about physical effect and intellectual effect. Here, this is very important, especially for the youth over there. You want to understand this thing of, you know, interaction with the other side. This is for us to understand how this influence, how this how the effect happen through a medium. Could be a physical effect, but also there is intellectual effects. So what is the difference? Okay, so you might ask, okay, which kind of medium I am, or what kind of mediums we can find out there. So for example, physical effects. There are those mediums who have power of obtaining physical manifestation. For example, rapping, Okay? It's rapping mean like, I'm pronounced this correct? Okay. So this is just something that happened during the Fox sister. If we read about in the upstate New York, those sisters that start to listen, knock, the wall, and they were like kind of like curious to know what those knock was. Yeah, picture yourself, 1848, upstate New York, no electricity, no TV, nothing that we have here in this room, camera, clock, project, we didn't have in that time. So basically, this knock starts to happen. Okay, so you got scared, did you? So in the middle of the night, this knock happened. So what do? You cannot sleep because the knock is persistent. The knock is persistent. So what do? So these two sisters over there, what they did, young sister, they decide to, okay, let's investigate what is this. They decide to investigate, and they create a code, Okay, one knock is yes, two knocks is no, and then they are able to communicate with these knocks, okay? And the Spirit Charles, I have the opportunity to see the place that the bones is located in upstate New York. If you go to Lilydale, you're going to see a museum that has all the history over there. If you don't want to go to Lilydale, just Google. Simple. Sit in the comfort of your home and Google this. This is not something that we are creating. This is history, okay? So RAPT is one of them. Physical effect. Doesn't need to have someone, but the mechanisms that happen, probably we need to go to Mediumship 102, because there is a component that needs to have for this to happen. We're not going to have time to discuss. Displacement and suspension of object, okay? So this book is here, and suddenly the book is over there, or the book is inside of the home. So this also was very common in that time. Okay, people start to listen music. Suddenly, are you listening to this music? Are you listening to this music? No, there is no music in play. But if someone starts to claim here that there is a music in play, it's because this person has, there is really a music in play. If this kind of phenomenon, the physical effect, any one of us needs to attest that is existing. If there is a physical effect of a music playing here, for example, let's forget that we have that we are in the middle of nowhere, just this place, and suddenly there is a beautiful melody come from outside. We open the window, we go outside, and there is nothing. There is nothing's playing, and everybody must hear the same thing that is produced. This is physical effect, okay? So we don't. It's not a something that just one person is gonna see, other is not gonna hear, So that is the way that's present. Apparitions, If the spirit materialize here, we all should be able to see it. I mean, there is a lot of case of haunted house. So, do you guys believe in that? No? Do you believe in haunted house? Yeah? Because you watch movies like, or because exist. Exist. That's not a joke. This is not a joke. Exist. Okay? Exist. Because a lot of earthbound spirit, they don't want to let it go their property. When they cross over, they stay there. How many accounts we see of people that really they don't, people buy houses. This is not poltergeist moving but buy houses and they couldn't live in the house. And sometimes the house of those spirits is not even there anymore. So they build another house in the top, but they claim that the land is still theirs. And they stay there. What do we do? What the Catholic Church used to do it, that we call exorcism. We spiritists, what do? We don't do exorcism. But in our meetings, we have a conversation with those spirits. We invite them to let it go, okay? We call those meetings these obsession meetings, okay? We have those meetings here. So if it is, permitted by the mentor of the house, we talk to the spirit. A lot of spirits come to a medium's meeting upset. And we have to talk to them as someone come upset here. If someone come upset here, cross this door and say, hey, you guys are talk too loud here because I'm trying to sleep in the other suite. So two things, we're going to low down or we're going to make a case. Say, look, we are like having a talk, a presentation. We need to speak louder because some people in the back is not able to listen. I'm going to load out the mic. So we have a conversation with them. We bring the gospel. We present that this person or that person needs to be happy. They need to move on in their life. That whatever happened to them in the past, they need to work in the forgiveness. It's not easy because when we feel the pain, it's not easy. But we need to exercise this. So mediums and Mediumnistic Meeting has this very important role. Daniel, why you need to talk to do this meeting? Well, because our society has been influenced by this population of spirit that discarnate, and they are like so connected to our planet. What are they gonna do it? Imagine the wars that we have against different countries. So the people that die in that country hate other country, A or B. What are they going to do it? Do you think you disincarnate with hatred, you're going to go to heaven? You're going to be like rewarding on the other side? No. You're going to find yourself on the other side and you want to really make justice with your own hands. What are you going to do? You're going to go and obsess those that you consider enemy. So in that way, we are delaying the progress of our society. But healing is another way. Healing, how many people are able to, heal the physical body, get healed by healing mediums that the conventional medicine was not able to cure, to heal. So this phenomenon that happened, and this is called physical effect. So what about intellectual effect? Here is something that in Spiritism we pay more attention, is the intellectual effect. The physical effect, we don't have much control. What we can control is the subject that helps that physical effect to manifestate. To have a manifestation of physical effect, we need to have close by to that place people that can donate some energy, spiritual fluid energy, to help those manifestations to happen, okay? They say that property that is in the middle of a forest that has a lot of dense trees surround, they have the natural fluid that is produced over there is used to help in the manifestation of physical effect. That's what some scholar says, okay? I don't know about that. So, intellectual effect, those mediums who are more specifically apt for receiving and transmitting intelligence communication. This is what we want to come. Why? Because it's through the communication and especially when we say intelligence communications means that, there is a conversation that we're going to transform our society. We cannot have a negotiation if there is no conversation, isn't it? We cannot understand things if we don't have the opportunity to discuss the subject. So this is the part of the type of mediumship that we in Spiritism, we value the most. We're not saying that the other one we don't care. So the first, hearing, we already mentioned that. So there is people that can hear, For example, now if something happened and just one or two of you hear and the rest doesn't hear, so maybe if you don't have like a problem in auditory system and everything is fine, maybe it's a sign that your hearing mediumship is blossom, is, you know, because you are hearing stuff that other people is not. So, but you need to go to under some certain investigation to see if you don't have a physical problem in your ear, because, you know, that is a symptom that the problem is not a spirit that's speaking, is that you have a physiological problem that you need to take care of. Speaking, you know, the speaking is very interesting because this can happen to any one of us. But certain people, like great speakers, you know, that know how to communicate, they may be influenced by the spirit, and they know. A great example of this is Divaldo Franco. So he used to say that sometime when, you know, he go to deliver his talk, he know the spirit that come. Majority of them, his mentor, Joanna Judge, helps him a lot in his talk, but there is other spirit that gives this talk through him. And he says that once I asked him when he came to Baltimore, I said, how do you know? I mean, so how do you do that? And he said, look, depends. Sometimes he see the whole text in front of him, and he read. Okay? The other time he hear the spirit telling, you know, him. And when this thing happened, he said that's so fascinating that he can deliver the message, even count the number of chairs without miss a point. You know, and sometimes he said that he starts to count the chairs, how many people is in the auditory, and he's speaking. He is the, you know, he is the channel of that spirit. And we have seen a lot of his video in the internet when he received Bezerra de Menezes, you know, that his face changed, you know, he kind of like, the voice changed. So this is an example of intellectual mediumship. Seeing, you know, somnambulistic. Do you know what is this? Somnambulistic mediumship. There is, so the somnambulist mediumship, let me see how, yeah. The somnambulist mediumship, sometimes the spirit is not even, the medium is not being influenced by the spirit. It's the medium itself, because we are spirit. When we sleep, what happened to our so we disengage, we emancipate, you know, and we stay connected with our physical body to the silver cord, you know, the silver cord one that connect our perispirit or spiritual body to our physical body. So some mediums, they are able to become fully conscious when they're outside of the body. They can influence the body, and sometimes the body even obey them. I mean, we studied this in the Spirit's book. There is a couple of questions about that. And that they can walk and they can, you know, but they are completely conscious as in the other side, and they remember when they come back. Pneumatographical. How do you pronounce that? Pneumatograph. So this is a kind of mediums that, for example, if we are all mediums here, this happened in Lilydale. I went over there and I saw the product of those kind of mediumship. It's fascinating. Was a painting, you know, painting. So what they used to do, this is the kind of mediumship, for example. Let's put some papers inside of that room, and we are mediums here, okay? So we start to pray. So we need to pray. We need to keep our mind. This is intellectual effect, okay? So as we do this, we create an environment so the spirit can come and paint something over there or write a text over there. And then when we open the door, after 20, 15, 20, 30 minutes, everything is there, okay? And I saw a beautiful picture. There is a painting from Abraham Lincoln that we published in the Spirits magazine like a couple years ago. That was, they call in Lilydale, they call this precipitation. So this kind of mediumship. This is very rare. It doesn't happen much because this require a group of people that is very harmonical, very, you know, disciplined, that know how to do, and also is able to donate from their spiritual fluids as well. finally, the one that we put in different color over there, writing or psychography. Why I'm highlighting that kind of mediumship? All this book and many of these books that's out there come through that special type of mediumship. And according to Kardec in the Medium's book, that one is the most, how do you secure it now? I would say saved in Spiritism because it's the one that is going to give opportunity for you to evaluate, to investigate. Because one thing is a medium comes here and say, hey, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. How do you control that? How do you prove? How do you prove? But then if a medium comes here, sitting here, and psychograph or have automatic right with something, we all here have the opportunity to challenge or to investigate if that is true or not. Maybe if the person is bringing some message that is for the future, time is going to tell, you know. But if someone come here and give a talk saying that he is a speaking medium, that what he's saying is because a spirit is telling him, so then we're going to listen that. Nowadays we can record, so we can evaluate. But the writing, automatic write, and psychography is the one that is more easy for us to make this evaluation about that medium, okay? So talking about writing or psychography, they have like a couple of characteristics. One of that we call mechanic. So what is mechanical? And Chico Xavier has this kind. Chico Xavier has all this mediumship, this one. Some medium they have specifically, okay? Some medium just seeing, or they just hear, or just somnambulic. For example, under Edgar Cayce from Virginia. What is the name of the place over there? I forgot. Yeah, Edgar Cayce Foundation. Yeah, so we went there. I mean, he has tons of book and information that he brought, that he has this kind of mediumship. He was able to come out of his body as he take a nap, you know, and see what kind of disease the person has. And also, like, has the ability to see the future, what was going to happen. He brought a lot of readings to people that, you know, was in need. And he did a great job. So nowadays they have a foundation over them. So by regards to psychography and automatic write, so we have some of those characters. Mechanical. Mechanical means that, for example, you put your hands over there, you have the paper, okay, and the spirit is going to magnetize your body, your hand, and then you write without knowing what to write, okay? There is no information going through your brain, the mind. So this is mechanical. So it's completely mechanical. There is no influence of the medium, that kind of communication. We have the intuitive one. The intuitive one is that when the spirit now transmit the information to your spiritual body, and then you write. Okay, so you are here, you close your eyes, and then you are the information is pop up in your mind, because the transmission is from the spiritual body, from the spirit through your spiritual body. It's like perispirit to perispirit. Same mechanical is like you have your hand that is magnetized by the spirit, but you are conscious that you know what's going on over there. Not fully, you know, so it's half-half. And we have the inspired mediums, those that, you know, is inspired. The name is our saying. So when we see a lot of author people that write books, for example, you know, come with this beautiful, I mean, could be, you know, that the soul, the spirit self, they detach a little bit and they have this influence and they perceive. So it's very difficult to tell if the idea is your own idea or if it is a shared idea with other minds. Because we are in this pool of influence. Even here, if we decide to spend 1 week together in this room, after 1 week, we're going to have a lot of influence for one another, because we are these very sociable, influenceable beings. So the same thing happened between us and the spiritual plane as well. Daniel, I don't believe on this. You don't need to believe it. This happened anyway. The same way you don't need to believe that there is microbe here. You don't need to believe it. There is anyway. If you wanted to be a stubborn, say that God doesn't exist, that all this doesn't matter. The universe is not going to change. So I think sometimes we need to be a little bit more humble and say, look, we don't know anything. Let's play in the safe way. Let's just investigate. As much as we start to investigate things, we come to a conclusion that we know nothing. So when we see people that say, oh, I know everything, so watch out. Because, nobody knows at all. But it's important for us to have this mind of investigation. So in this time of fake news, I don't want it to be political, but in this time of fake news, it's required from us to be more and more aware and have this mind of investigation. Why? Because the influence comes from everywhere now. Influences come from everywhere. Before, we didn't have the technology that we have. Nowadays, maybe I cannot influence you, but maybe a TV channel can, and you can make decisions through TV channel because someone over there is saying this. But you don't have the time, you don't have the time to go and investigate and read and get this information compared to that information, see the source of the information. So because of this, we may derail as a country, you may derail as a planet. So it's something that we need to watch out. That's why it's very important when we discuss about mediumship. When we discuss about mediumship, we are discussing about influence. Influences that can be from both sides, from this side to the other side, and vice versa. Okay, we almost approach the end. So regards to the mediumship meeting itself, is a surgical room, okay? So when we have our mediumship meeting here, that room over there, we have a right tag over there, Leo, if you just close the door a little bit, that we treasure the area over there because it's an area that we don't want it to keep the same way here. So we say restrict area. Why? Because it's an area that we do our mediumship meeting. We have also the children activity over there. We don't want it to keep open for the public. So to go over there, you need to be invited. If we have like a private meeting, it's not something that you come and go. It's like kind of your bedroom in your home. When you have a visit, you don't bring your visit to your bedroom. You wait for the person to invite you. So you stay in the living room. So when you talk about this meeting, first of all, needs to be done in a safe and clean, in the sense, spiritual energy way. You don't do surgery in the in the cafeteria in the hospital, do you? We have a surgical room, or kissing, how do you call OR? We have in hospital, we have a specific place to do those surgery. If you get sick, you don't want it to be operated in the hallway. You want it to go to a surgical room. Why? Because in that place, you have all the elements necessary to have a successful surgery, okay? So mediumship meeting in Spiritism follow those guidelines. In other philosophy, in other religion, they may not, and we respect. But we think that that's the safe way for us to protect ourselves and to do effective work in regards to this obsession meeting, for example. So, but doesn't mean that if you come to a spirit center, you are not being also helped here. So this moment that we get together here, a lot of things can happen in a spirit center. We have the talk, we have the information that we bring. I'm pretty sure that I'm not here alone. There is some of this idea that was also brought by the mentors of this house. I believe on that. So we have the passes that we're going to offer at the end. There is the fluid water. So all this, put here there. So all this happening also in the Spirit Center. Like, so we try to keep this place cleaning because we know that when we have also dirty things, this can attract bad energy to your place. That's why we take shower. That's why we clean our house. So we can see here in those pictures, like, for example, when someone is giving a talk, like right now I'm giving a talk, I believe that this thing is happening. I may also have some information come to my mind. Things that I said here that I didn't plan when I read Alba's presentation. So this means that also we are being influenced in a very humble way. This is not like extra supernatural things that happen. This happen all the time. Okay, we get all this inspiration when we drive our car, when we are like listening a sublime music, for example, when I read a book. So we all have those influences. So here is a example of someone being healed by the spiritist doctor. So this is a spiritist doctor. We always mention this. Here there's magnetization of the water that we have over there. This is during the passes. So these are all things that happen in a spirit center. But also the Mediumnistic Meeting itself that we have here every Mondays. So this is a setting that we have. Of course, we have a table. We don't do this in a circle. We have a table in the middle because we need to put our hands over there. Sometimes we need to have a reading before. We need to tune ourselves. We need to prepare ourselves. So we can see here that we have mediums here. We have someone that coordinates the meeting. We have someone that is more ostensible meeting or medium. We have the supportive people that is not ostensible, but they can visualize or help in the current in the table, and we have we can see here, for example, this is just a drawing showing. You have here our stencil medium here. We have a spirit that is very angry, very upset. We have the we call like the counselor. It's not the counselor. It's the, how do you say this in English, Leo? It's the person that will gonna talk to the spirit. Okay, so for example, let's pretend that Chris is the ostensible medium. Okay, there is a spirit through him. Now he's changed his voice. Now he becomes saying stuff. He becomes angry, upset. So I can come to him, not to Chris, but to the spirit that now is using his, not body, but connect to him and talk to the spirit. And I can say, my friend, welcome. What's going on? Not like this, okay? So be welcome. This is a fraternal place. So please let us know why you are so upset. And the spirit's going to say, I'm upset because that person was here and she should not be here. Or that, I don't know what happened. I was driving my car and suddenly I'm here. I should be in that place. And then by what the spirit is telling you, so the person that's talking to the spirit, he's going to gather information. The first thing is just listen to the spirit. What is his concern? And then we are getting information from the spirit. At the same time, there is a group of spirit. You see this incarnate spirit, this one. So this is the mentors of the spirit's meeting. So they are also bring some intuition or inspiration to you that's talking to the spirit to, have a successful conversation. So all this is done in a very serene way. There is no one that's going to stand up or dance or jump. Everything needs to be controlled. So this is a work, a teamwork effort that everyone in that table needs to be in the same mindset. Okay, we are there to help. We are not there to judge the person, not to ask questions, but to try to mitigate the problem. So here is another example, for example, what the spiritist doctor, they may do sometime, depends of the case, they can bring a screen. Okay, the person say, look, I'm here because that person that you guys are helping killed me in past life. And now I'm after that person. And then the person is trying to make the case, say that the person, the spirit is a victim. Okay? So when this thing happens, there's not much that we can do, but we can evoke the presence of the spirit doctor, and the mentor of the meeting can bring a scream. I don't see the scream, but the spirit is seen, because I'm just facilitating, okay? So they bring a scream, and the scream just show him in other lives what the person did the same or worse, you know? And then that's a way the person to realize that they are not victim. There is no victim. I mean, what we go through this life, we may feel that we are victim of, but we don't know. We are millennial spirit. How many lifetime we had? How many time we came as man, as woman, as black, as white, as Native American, and then we feel that we are victim. So what we need to do it? We already have the guideline. Jesus brought to us. He's the guiding model. A lot of people have shown to us how we should behave as a society, as human beings. So this is the kind of thing that when we don't do it, we might end up in this situation of those spirits. And then I never see a meeting here that at the end, the situation is not resolved. Maybe it was not resolved 100%, but that spirit leaves the meeting with the help of the spirit doctor, already with a little bit like permeable to change, you know? So that's something to happen. This is the medium, this is the psychograph, automatic writing. So this is a drawing from Chico Xavier. This is mental Emmanuel. And here is probably André Luiz, that is a spirit that is observing the meeting over there. This, to finalize, I would like to bring this, just to finalize this part of our presentation. This is in the Medium's book, part 2, chapter 31, item 15. So that part talk about how you do the Medium's meeting, what is the guideline, what's the safe way to do it. And there is a lot of message from different spirits. This one comes from a spirit called, I don't know how to pronounce it, Mazilion. Yeah, and the question, they start with the question, why the question is, what is your purpose most of the time in asking the spirits to communicate? So sometimes Kardec, the Spirit's book, they suggest that we can invoke the spirit to come and to communicate. And sometimes we evoke in our meeting the Spirit's doctor to guide us, to tell us, you know, what to do it. That's not the evoker. Doesn't mean that the spirit's coming and is going to tell you. But sometimes we have the communication of the mentor of this house, and that's the spirit says, our purpose is to make you better. For us, the serious individual is not the one who avoids laughter, but the one whose heart is touched by our words, who meditate on them and put them in practice. So when we talk about mediumship, we talk about the transformation of the individual. So that's why we mentioned at the beginning, be a medium is not a privilege. Some people are ostensible medium, their life is a hell in the sense that they cannot deal with those influences. Sometimes it's better not to be ostensible medium because you don't have the influence. But, you know, the downside is that sometimes the good influence can come and you're not going to capture, you're not going to realize that it's a good influence. To finalize, this is in the introduction of the book, in the domain of mediumship. Here is called In the Realm of Mediumship. That book over there, we have the book over there. So Emmanuel tell about this book. They say, however, toward the end of the book, however, what we want to emphasize in his account means André Luiz is the spirit that wrote the book, is the need to keep Christ in our hearts and mind in order not to become disoriented upon coming in contact with mediumistic phenomena. Without the notion of responsibility, without the devotion to the practice of good, without the love of studying, and without a persevering effort in our own personal moral education, the liberating pilgrimage toward higher life is impossible. So, in another word, doesn't mean if we are ostensible medium, doesn't mean if you're going to do this meeting here to rescue spirit. If not day-to-day life, we don't improve ourselves. Okay? So when he mentioned the need to keep Christ in our heart and mind means to put his teaching in practice. So that's the main thing. So the book, if you read the book in the domain of mediumship, we have a lot of cases of this kind of meetings, in this kind of meetings, that we see a lot of people doing good, but a lot of people don't take much advantage of this faculty. So it's not a privilege, it's a very serious commitment that we make. And sometimes we make this commitment before we incarnate. We come with this faculty, and then once we know that we have this ability, we may use for good or we may use for bad. It's up to us, our free will. I know we have like 8 minutes because of time. There is a part of the movie, of this movie is The Mothers of Chico Xavier. I think I'm going to play. Do you guys want to play? It's 8 minutes. We are a little bit over 5 minutes of our time. I'm going to explain. This is a movie. It is in the YouTube, the movie. We watched this movie here before. So I'm bringing the context very brief for you. So this movie talk about, I think, 4 or 5 mothers that lost loved one, and they went to Chico Xavier to receive consolation, to receive a letter. And here we see the beautiful of using mediumship for charity and for consolation. Okay? So if you think that you are a sensitive medium, be careful how you use this faculty. It's like money. If God gives $1 billion for you, please use this to help others. Okay? If God gave you a very high IQ, you're a very smart person, use this to help others. That's the example that we're going to see here, how this consolation is a little bit graphic. So we don't have any children here. You are like 16, okay? Because there is, I mean, you guys watch like horror movies over there. There is a part of the movie that's very, I think is very strong because show, how the person killed himself and then how she could receive this later through the psychography, okay? Can you just turn off the light, please, for me? The movie is in Portuguese, but there is a subtitle in English, okay? So let's play. Okay, so I think I already put in the wrong one. Okay, I already have here, okay. So it's like 8 minutes, okay? I'm put it here. It's just a part for the movie. So this, what you see here is one of the mother, but those people here, so Chico used to psychograph in front of everybody. So this is not like this obsession meeting, that the kind of meeting that we have here. So we have some people that's around the table, he got the paper, and he starts to psychograph without knowing the case of the people. And people come to his spirit center to receive some message from their loved one, okay? Okay, Leo, are you ready?
Mãezinha querida, eu sei que fiz a senhora sofrer muito. Eu não sabia o que estava fazendo. Agora entendo tudo que me falava. Tinha razão em tudo. peço que me perdoe e me abençoe, seu filho querido, João de Deus.
Deus abençoe.
Meus queridos pais, rogo que me perdoem por ter causado tanto sofrimento e dor a vocês. Agora, tudo está claro diante da memória. Mas antes não. Culpava os outros pelos meus erros e fui fraco ao deixar que as drogas e os maus espíritos controlassem minhas vontades. E mais do que tudo, fui um covarde.
A alegria de viver não fazia parte do meu espírito. Minha cabeça era um turbilhão de sombras, governado por ideias confusas e contraditórias.
Raul, onde é que você estava, meu filho?
Em lugar nenhum.
Você andou se drogando, Raul?
Não!
Você tá bem, meu filho?
Vai dormir, vai.
Você acha que eu consigo?
Não enche! Me deixe em paz!
Não fala assim comigo, meu filho. Eu sou sua mãe.
Mãe? Que mãe?
Meu filho, o que tá acontecendo com você, hein?
Me dá um tempo.
Fala comigo, fala. A gente já não conversa mais.
A gente só conversa com quem confia.
Oh, meu filho. Me perdoa. Me perdoa, me perdoa.
Me deixe em paz. Me deixe em paz! Queria amigos, mas sentia uma imensa solidão. E eu ignorava de verdade que forças diferentes das minhas dominavam os meus pensamentos. Já não era mais dona do meu destino e agia sem saber que mãos invisíveis se juntavam às minhas.
Oi, Tico.
Mário,
O que foi hoje?
o Raul tá aqui.
Raul? Raul tá aqui?
Ele se trancou lá no quarto.
Num instante, tudo desmoronou diante de mim.
Raul! Filho!
Não.
Filho! Filho! Vai ficar. Vai ficar.
Atentar contra a própria vida me fez encontrar um sofrimento ainda maior. Eu não sabia onde estava. Queria sair, mas não conseguia. Sofri por muito tempo. Por anos e anos intermináveis no mundo espiritual. Fome, frio, desalento e uma solidão infinitamente maior do que aquela que sentia. Até que minha vozinha, Ivone, veio ao meu socorro.
Meu filho. Meu filho. É o Raul. Mário. É o nosso filho.
Desde esse dia, tenho sido preparado para este encontro, que enche minha alma de luz e paz.
Como é que você está se sentindo, Raul?
Feliz. Muito feliz.
Você está pronto?
Sim. Graças a você.
Você pode corrigir seus erros, Raul. Agora só depende de você.
É tudo que eu mais quero. Obrigado. Muito obrigado.
Vamos.
Minha mãezinha, lhe peço que não chores mais por mim. Ajude os necessitados e me perdoe do fundo de seu coração. Só a caridade e o perdão podem nos oferecer o caminho da salvação. A alegria desse momento, meu amado Pai, é eterna. Ficará conosco até o dia do nosso reencontro. Do seu querido filho, Raul.
Theo está presente. Você consegue vê-lo?
Querida mãezinha, sou eu, seu filho Theo. Estou aqui com o meu professor e é ele que me ajuda a escrever, porque ainda estou aprendendo. Estou te vendo. Sinto saudades, mas minha alegria em estar aqui é maior do que tudo. Eu já estava doente quando brincava e falava com você. Depois bati com a cabeça no chão, mas fiquei forte. A cabeça ficou pesada não da queda, mas de uma doença que nasceu comigo. Lica não teve culpa de nada.
Eu sou muito ruim. Vem cá, me dá abraço.
Like, just to show you, I mean, you can go to YouTube and watch the whole movie. It's called The Mother of Chico Xavier. It's very interesting because shows two great aspects of mediumship. One is, this is not the mediumship that a lot of people is looking out there. People go to mediums to know if they're going to get rich, they're going to get married, all these frivolous questions. This is the mediumship that brings consolation, that is the one that we practice in Spiritism. So if someone come here to a spirit center asking, you know, can you talk to the spirit to help me in my business, you know, it's not going to happen. That's not the objective of serious mediumship meeting. So here we see an example of a medium that used this faculty to console people that's really suffering. When you lose a loved one, doesn't matter how much money you have, how many property you have. What you wanted to have is a word of consolation. If someone that you can come and understand your pain. So for that, we have as a great example our Master Jesus. That's why when you look at his image and his history, when he came to this planet, he was a true medium of God. He came to heal people, to bring the good news, to teach us how to be brothers and sisters, to teach us how to forgive and to be compassionate. So I would like to finalize here, and because of this is very touching part of the movie, I would like you guys, and we're going to skip the question today. Probably we can talk after our passes, to really think what kind of faculty you have, because we are all medium, but what, you know, thing that you have in this life that it can be an instrument to console and to help other people, okay? So I would like to stop here and ask probably Kirsten or someone to put the music. I'm going to do a little visualization, then we're going to have the passes, and then we finalize our meeting for today. Okay?